Hello and welcome. It's a slightly under the weather OGGM. It's Tuesday. I'm taking a walk because there's a family emergency and it's just sort of making me feel a little kaflunkled. But far be it for me to use this as a past chance to talk about what the latest D&D nonsense is. And of course, with the one D&D sword of Damocles hanging over our head and Jeremy Crawford's latest creepy video, it is the wheel of tabletop role-playing game relevance has been spun. We're looking at the 5 topics that we always talk about in one form or another, and once again it reels to Eddition wars and what is and is not canon. And this deems from a combination of the whole one D&D backwards compatible nonsense with Crawford's what is and is not canon nonsense, and some confusion between Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering and other titles that Hasbro has some connection to, and where, and if because of these connections it's canon in D&D. So let's break it down from the master himself, Mr. Jeremy Crawford, and how this initially began. What is and is not canon for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons? So originally Crawford's statement was, as far as Wizards of the Coast is concerned, nothing before 2014 was canon, nothing before 2014 mattered, nothing before 2014 was going to get supported. Dungeons and Dragons only existed 2014 onward, and whatever they said was canon was canon. Nothing else mattered. Not what you said was going on in your game, whatever. No, just 2014 on, that is the official canon. And that, of course, got a lot of people. Oh, hi, doggos. 1 doggo. 2 doggos. Hi, buddy. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt your mom. And that, of course, got a lot of people, both 5e players and non-5e players, and got the Eddition war people all, oh, look, we've won, look what we've did, oh, ha, 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 the OSR's in trouble, this kills the OSR. We got so much negative response that Chris Perkins 2.0 had to come on like a day or 2 later and go, oh, no, this is what we meant. So what they meant was, whatever we say is canon to us. But whatever goes on in your game is completely up to you. If you don't want Ravenloft to be canon in your game, it doesn't have to be. If you want to use material from a third party, you can. If you want to use a campaign setting that isn't our official campaign setting, go ahead. It's fine. But there was still a lot of negative responses to this whole 2014 on Eddition wars, and of course the Eddition war thing became a thing again, and it was like, oh, the OSR's failing, and So then Crawford came forward a couple days later and said, you know what, basically I'm this argument is silly. You are all capable of making your own mind up. Use your own judgment, okay? Don't listen to us. Make up your own mind. It's your game, okay? If you want it to be canon, it's canon. If you don't want it to be canon, it's not canon. Jesus Christ, guys, most of you are adults. You're all rationally intelligent enough to read the book, make up your own mind. So that was Crawford's statement. Then Dragons of Stormwick Isle came out with the artwork that looked a lot like characters from the 1980s cartoon, and that restarted all the bullshit, because now they were like, oh, those are the characters of the 1980s cartoon. The characters of the 1980s cartoon are canon to D&D, blah, 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 OSR is failing, blah, 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 1 D&D, blah, 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 canon, blah, 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 Eddition wars, blah, 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 5e rules. So multiple individuals came forward and said, no, those are not the kids from the 1980s cartoon. They are a homage to the kids from the 1980s cartoon. We don't own the rights to the 1980 cartoons characters. We only own the rights to the Dungeons and Dragons things that appear to the 1980s characters. So Tiamat, that's ours. But Bobby and Uni, that's Disney's. Okay? And this was further muddled about what was and wasn't a canon because of the magic sets. Now, as you know, about 2 to 4 times a year, Magic the Gathering produces these special limited edition sets. We had Unglued and Unhinged, and then we started having sets that tied into certain other medias. We had a Transformers Magic the Gathering set. We had a Walking Dead Magic the Gathering set. We had all the, we had a Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set. We had a Fortnite Magic the Gathering set. And we had a Magic the Gathering set that used artwork from the cartoon. So because it's appearing in Magic the Gathering, this of course went to the whole thing that, well, then Magic the Gathering is canon in D&D. If it appears in Magic the Gathering, it appears in D&D. These are the kids from the show. They're using the quotes from the show. Therefore, the kids from the show are canon to D&D. Magic the Gathering, canon in D&D. D&D, canon in Magic the Gathering. They're the same thing. 5e rules. Everybody else sucks. Even if you give me empirical proof saying it's not that, I'm not going to believe it. Walking Dead is canon in D&D. All right, so that brings us up to the present and the what is and is not canon argument. And as of a week ago, when the 1D&D round 2 playtest went live, there was an interview with Crawford, and Crawford is back on his Dungeons and Dragons 2014 on is all that counts. Nothing before 2014 is canon. Nothing before 2014 counts. 1D&D is not going to be backwards compatible with any other issue other than 5e. We're not going to support any of the product that exists before 2014. That is what he implied several times. Now, Chris Perkins has not come forward yet and said no. Crawford made a little backpedaling at the end of the week, but not much. So as of now, according to Crawford, nothing that existed before 2014 is canon, and there's no connection between Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, except of course Hasbro PulseCon happened over the weekend, and Hasbro, amongst other things, showed us the new Dungeons and Dragons cartoon inspired figures, and they showed us that they're doing some Star Wars stuff. There's a limited edition Darth Vader, and there's a limited edition the characters from the new Star Wars Andor, and a couple other limited edition figures that Hasbro is making in conjuration with, of course, Disney, because Disney owns Star Wars. But, you know, Disney will, of course, you know, let Hasbro's company make action figures for them. They've got some shared contract, obviously. Hasbro, you know, makes toys. Star Wars is one of the toy brands that Hasbro makes, along with G.I. Joe and stuff. So, because there was a Halloween decorations, because there was a Darth Vader figure, Star Wars now must be canon to Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons is now canon to Star Wars. I don't make this stuff up. This is stuff people actually say, you know. So there's some confusion. And then there's more confusion because of the Forgotten Realms, which has been the official Dungeons and Dragons canon campaign for years. And how does the Forgotten Realms influence D&D? Well, as of 1D&D, we do not know if there is an official campaign setting, if it's going to be set in the realms, or just sort of be, as they keep saying, world agnostic, and they're not going to have a world. Now, technically, the Forgotten Realms is one of the official worlds of D&D. There's a few others. I mean, Greyhawk is always sort of questionable who has the rights to that. We're not going to talk about it. We're just going to talk about Forgotten Realms canon. And despite what Crawford says, despite what these other people say, the only person who can say what is and is not canon in the Forgotten Realms is Ed Greenwood. He still retains that much control that if he prints it, it's official. If Wizards of the Coast prints it, as far as he's concerned, it's up for grabs. If you want it in your Forgotten Realms world, it's fine. If you don't want it in your Forgotten Realms world, it's fine. He still controls that much creativity of the realms that he can still produce Forgotten Realms stuff on third-party sites like Drive-Thru or DM's Guild and soak in the money, and it doesn't have to have any connection with D&D. So what is canon? According to Crawford, nothing before 2014 matters. Once again, he's on that. So that obviously means he has basically said one D&D will not be backwards compatible with anything other than 5e. A little secret for you, so far it's not backwards compatible with 5e either. So 0th edition through 4th edition are totally separate entities. Third parties are allowed to support them, but as of now, Wizards of the Coast claims they won't support any of the titles that they own that existed in the 2014 and earlier time slot. Obviously, though, we know that they will do anything they can to keep control of those, like sue people over names or likenesses, or secretly support them through third-party production companies, because we know that even if a third-party production company makes a product for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast still gets some of that money, and then Hasbro still gets some of that money. So the edition wars are still going to exist. One D&D does not end the edition wars. One D&D does not kill the OGL or the OSR or the OSE. All one D&D is saying is that we are backwards compatible with 5th edition. The only thing that's canon is what Wizards of the Coast has produced from 2014 on. That is the official nonsensical storyline. And there is a timetable available if you want to see exactly in what order things happened in the Forgotten Realms, although they haven't really done a Forgotten Realms support in like a year. And I think Rime of the Frost Maiden might have been the last one, or Candlekeep. Oh, hi, doggo. Hi, buddy. Random dog. Hi. Nice to meet you. Are you supposed to be out? So yeah, I don't know if they're gonna, one D&D is gonna be set in the realms, or if it's gonna be world agnostic, or if it's gonna be set in Spelljammer. They should set it in Spelljammer. That would make the most sense, but they probably won't. But there is a canonical timeline of adventures ending with Candlekeep count as an official campaign. No, I would say Rime of the Frost Maiden was the last one, because Candlekeep, Strixhaven, those aren't really adventures, they're settings. Radiant Citadel, not really an adventure. It's a setting. Spelljammer, not really an adventure, it's a setting. So 2014 to Rime of the Frost Maiden is what Jeremy Crawford says is canon. So I'm sorry, that means that Magic the Gathering's Transformers set does not mean it's canon to D&D or it's canon to the realms. The only person who can say what's canon to the realms is Mr. Greenwood. The Star Wars action figure of Darth Vader does not mean Star Wars is now canon to Dungeons & Dragons. Only everything that Wizards of the Coast produced from 2014 to Rime of the Frost Maiden, plus the campaign settings like Candlekeep and Strixhaven and Radiant Citadel, are canon. There is no support for anything in 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 0, 3.5. There is no backwards compatibility before 2014. The only D&D that counts is 2014 onward. One D&D is only going to support 5e. There are still other editions that are being supported. The edition war is still going on. The OGL is still strong. The OSR is still strong. The OSC is still strong. In fact, the OSR is stronger than ever. Wizards of the Coast canon is weak compared to, say, Marvel's canon, or Disney's canon, or DC's canon. If we're going to go who's got the strongest continuous canon, it's Marvel. The MCU has maintained its canon. Disney has got over 100 years of productions and stuff like that. And if you look at the Pixar films, there are connections. But in regards to D&D, Edition Wars, Canon, yeah, as of today, though I'm sure this will change, it's only Canon. If Wizards of the Coast produced it, if it says Wizards of the Coast presents Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition adventure Candle Keep, that's Canon. The Magic the Gathering card Shattering Planes is not canon. Darth Vader is not canon. Venger and the kids from the show are not canon because they did not come out in 2014. So sorry. That sucks for people who were hoping one D&D would be backwards compatible, but you know what? The other edition support is still strong. We're doing fine. AD&d is still being played. So yeah, hopefully that helped either clarify what's going on with the current canon and Crawford's creepy announcement, or further muddled it. Either way, that's it for me. I'm the OG GM saying that everything I say is canon, and other than that, it just doesn't matter. Talk to you later.